The Salem Witch Trials by Paris Gilling and Mackenzie Larson.
Thesis. The Salem witch trials reformed how people adjusted their personal mindsets to fit in with others. This caused a chain reaction of manipulation and lies. It also started a revolution of strange and unusual behaviors. One of the reasons that the Salem witch trials stand out in the history of early American law is that the court admitted spectral evidence to the proceedings. How it started. The Puritans were a dissenting branch of the Anglican Church who fled England in the early 1600s. They were concerned that living in England under the hierarchy of the Church of England, the Anglican Church was telling them what to do, making them believe things they didn't actually believe. So the Puritans left to find their own church and to own their own doctrine.
The community at Salem in the congregation has less community, which means that the people there believe that the congregation itself should be able to shape how the church works.
In February 1692, 9-year-old Elizabeth Betty Parris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams, the daughter and niece of Samuel Parris, minister of Salem Village, began having fits, including violent contortions and uncomfortable outbursts of screaming. After a local doctor, William Griggs, diagnosed bewitchment, other young girls in the community began to exhibit similar symptoms. Ann Putnam Jr., Elizabeth Booth, Sarah Churchill, Elizabeth Hubbard, Mercy Lewis, Susanna Sheldon, Mary Warren, and Mary Wilcott. They were then called the Afflicted Girls. Contemporary witch lore held that witches could project themselves spiritually, either directly or with the aid of Satan, in order to harm their victims from afar. Court records demonstrate New Englanders' interest in the divination, magical remedies, reading books, and using nails, salt, horseshoes, and plants to ward off witches and evil spirits.
This caused the afflicted girls to accuse the outcasts of their town of witchcraft so that they wouldn't get caught doing things they shouldn't be. It also triggered a savage, unstoppable panic that saw hundreds accused of witchcraft by their family, friends, and neighbors.
Most ministers in New England believed that all magic was diabolical and that witches received powers from the devil to manipulate the weather, cause illnesses, destroy crops, and harm livestock. Witches made a covenant with the devil that was similar to the covenant church members made and deserved to be punished with death because, as William Perkins argued in his influential discourse of The Damned Art of Witchcraft, they were enemies to God and all true religion.
Since the 17th century, the story of injustice fueled by xenophobia of religious exorcism was long brewed social tensions.
The three main accused witches. Tituba, an enslaved woman. She initially denied accusations, but later confessed to make a deal with the devil after being pressured. Her vivid testimony of encounters with Satan and his demon familiars fueled the mouthing hysteria. Fate spent 13 months in jail, and little is known of her life after the trials. Sarah Good, an irascible beggar. She maintained her innocence but accused Osborne of witchcraft. Fate gave birth to a baby girl in prison. The infant died. And then Sarah Good was hung in July. Sarah Osborne, an elderly bedridden woman, widowed woman. She was scorned for her relation with an indentured servant and also denied her charges. Fate died in prison in May 1692. The more widely believed test was to look for physical signs on the witch's body. The people of Salem believed that if a person's had made a pact with the devil, there would be physical marks like moles, scars, or warts, which were labeled the devil's mark. The witches' test in Salem consisted mainly of physical examinations for the witch's teat.
There are many other witches accused of witchcraft, which proves that lies and manipulation are controlling and hard to change.
The accused witches were mostly women and children, with very few men accused. In King Philip's War, which was a significant conflict between colonizers and indigenous people in the 1670s, the violence of the war drove many displaced settlers to seek refuge in Salem. Many of the refugees were small children who had witnessed extreme violence that grew into traumatized teenagers who accused people of witchcraft.
The Salem witch trials divided the community. Neighbor testified against neighbor, child against parent, husband against wife, children died in prison, families were destroyed, churches removed people from their congregations, but that were accused of witchcraft.
Leaders. Samuel Sewall was elected by Governor Phips to sit as the judge for the witchcraft trials. He was one of the 9 judges. 5 years after the trials, he issued a public confession expressing his shame in condemning innocent people. He was the only judge to apologize. Sir William Phips was the governor of Massachusetts. He supported the witch trials but put a stop to them when his wife was accused of witchcraft. Reverend Samuel Parris. His daughter and niece were the first afflicted girls with witchcraft. He may have influenced the girls to name certain people as witches. He served as a witness of the girls' sufferings during the trials.
The leaders had a personal and political agendas, so they were dishonest about the charges on the accused witches.
The General Court of Massachusetts Bay Colony adopted the following statute in 1641. If any man or woman be a witch that is hath or consoles with a familiar spirit shall be put to death. With this law it caused mass hysteria, leading to family and friends accusing loved ones to avoid being targeted themselves.
As a result, 25 people died, 19 hung, 1 was pressed to death, 5 died in jail. In conclusion, people show that their self-value is more important. They will divine others' lives to save theirs.
Once you actually start accusing people, it's very hard to stop and go back to the way it was.